I woke up dazed and confused, with my face pressed into the floor of my own trunk. My hands were tied behind my back, my ankles were tied too. There was a towel shoved so tight across my mouth that every breath felt like I was pulling air through a wet cloth. For a few seconds, I had absolutely no idea where I was. Then I heard the latch above me click. The trunk opened, and a man I'd never seen before leaned over me, smiling like he had been waiting for this part all night. He watched me struggle for a second. Then he whispered, "Should have checked the trunk." I used to be obsessive about locking my car, like seriously obsessive. Especially when I was doing DoorDash, every pickup, every drop off, every gas station refuel. Lock the car, check the doors, keep moving. It was super annoying sometimes. I'd be standing outside a restaurant with 3 bags of food balanced in one arm, digging through my pocket for the keys because I'd locked the car without thinking. It was second nature. But I always told myself the same thing. It only takes one time. One time leaving the car open. One time assuming you'll be right back. One time thinking, it won't matter. And that night, I let myself think exactly that. It was one of those nights where everything was going right. If you've ever done DoorDash, you know the feeling. Short trips, good tips, food ready when you get there. Orders stacked so perfectly, it feels like the app finally decided to stop ruining your life. I was making more money than I expected, and honestly, I was feeling myself a little. The next order came from a local pizza shop I picked up from all the time. The workers knew me in that kind of casual way, not by name, but enough to hit me with a "What's up, boss?" when I walked in. The order was for a guy named Jake. One pizza, easy drive, good payout. I parked near the front, got out, and started toward the door. Then I heard it. That soft little click your car makes when the door doesn't close quite all the way. I turned back. My driver's door wasn't wide open, but it was just barely cracked. That tiny little gap where you can see the inside edge of the door. I remember looking at it and thinking, I should go back. But the pizza shop was right there. The order was ready. I was going to be inside for maybe 30 seconds. So I did the thing that almost got me killed. I said, "It's fine." And I walked away. Inside, everything was normal. The guy behind the counter saw me and pointed to the warmer before I even said anything. "Jake?" I asked. He nodded. "See you soon, boss." I grabbed the bag, thanked him, and headed out. My car was still there, but the door looked a little more open than before. Not enough to make me panic, just enough to make me stop for half a second. That right there should have been the moment. That right there was the universe giving me one more chance to be smart. Instead, I made excuses. I told myself, "Oh, it's just a win, it's fine." I put the pizza on the passenger seat. Then, just to calm myself down, give myself a chance to be smart, I looked into the back seat. It was empty. The floor, the seats, there was nothing there. I even leaned in a little. Still nothing. So, totally relaxed, I got in, shut the car door, started it, and hit the navigation. Jake was only about 8 minutes away. The car was quiet. Too quiet, maybe. I usually played music while I drove, but that night I wanted something different. So I opened YouTube and put on some random video. I kept skipping until it landed on one about horror movies where the villain wins. I remember thinking that was funny. Not funny like a joke, more so funny like bad timing. I pulled onto Crescent Avenue with the dashboard glow in my hands, the pizza smell filling the car, and the video playing low through the speakers. A few minutes in, I got this feeling. Not a sound, not movement, just the feeling that something was looking at me. I checked the rearview mirror, backseat was empty again. I checked the side mirror, nothing. There was a car right next to me in the left turning lane, so I figured maybe that driver was staring at me. People do that sometimes. You feel eyes on you and your brain turns it into a threat. The light turned green. I kept driving. Then that feeling came back, stronger this time. It wasn't like what I thought with the driver to the left of me. It hit me right between my shoulders, like someone was leaning forward behind me. I could feel a presence with me in the car. I flicked my eyes to the mirror again. Nothing. Then I checked the right side mirror as I started to turn, and I saw it. Just for a second, a head, low, behind the back seat, not sitting up all the way, not in the seat, lower than that, like someone was folded into the trunk space, peeking through the gap between the seat and the head cushion. I only saw part of his face, his forehead and eyes, wide, still eyes, watching me through the mirror. My foot came off the gas. The car behind me laid on the horn. That snatched me back to reality. I wasn't moving. I jerked forward through the turn, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I looked again. Nothing. The mirror showed the same empty backseat as before. No head, no eyes, no movement. For the next few blocks, I kept telling myself I just imagined it. I was overworked. I had a horror video playing. The door thing had already made me a little paranoid. That's all. I was almost able to believe that by the time I reached Jake's house. He came out before I got to the door. Nice guy. He saw my Knicks hoodie and said something about the team finally making a real run. For maybe 30 seconds, I honestly wasn't scared. We talked basketball. He laughed. I laughed. He handed me an extra $5 cash tip on top of what he already tipped in the app. It was such a dope moment that I almost forgot what I saw previously. So I walked back to my car, and before I even opened the door, I saw the hair again, low, behind the back seat. This time I didn't move. I just stood there with my hand on the door handle, because now I knew there was someone in my car. And worse than that, I had already driven with him inside it. I stepped back slowly. I tried not to look directly at the trunk area. I didn't want him to know that I knew. My phone was still in my hand. I opened it and fake scrolled like I was checking the app. Then I called 911. I kept my voice really low. I told them I was a delivery driver. I told them someone was hiding in my car. I gave the address. The dispatcher told me 2 units were on the way. ETA was about 5 minutes. And now 5 minutes doesn't sound like a long time until you're standing just a few feet away from your own car, wondering if the person inside is about to do something absolutely insane. The dispatcher told me to stay back. I did at first. But then I saw the car shift and kind of wiggle around, just slightly, like weight was moving inside. The trunk area dipped, then rose. I remember thinking, if he gets out before the cops get here, I'm totally alone and exposed. So I did something I'd go back and forth on. I moved closer. Not because I was brave or anything, but because panic makes you negotiate with really, really stupid ideas. I kept the dispatcher on the line to be safe. My hands were still shaking. Every step toward the back of the car felt heavier than the last. The street was totally quiet by this point. Jake's porch light was behind me. Somewhere far away, a dog barked and it made me shake a little bit. I reached the trunk. My thumb hovered over the button. The dispatcher said something, but I really couldn't hear her. I just pressed the trunk button. I wanted to get this over with. The trunk latch clicked. Then the door lifted with that slow mechanical whine. This was it. I was going to see him. The man with the hair, the eyes, the person who had been watching me, waiting for something. But the trunk was empty. No man, no movement, no body curled inside. For 1 second, I honestly felt super embarrassed, like maybe I really was just imagining the whole thing. Then I heard the smallest sound behind me, like a step. I turned to face what I heard, but right as I did, everything went black. When I woke up, I couldn't move. At first, I thought maybe I was back in my apartment and just waking up like I dreamed the whole thing. I dreamed a good day at DoorDash. Then my cheek dragged against the carpet, not my house carpet, the rough, dirty liner of my truck. My hands were tied behind me, my ankles were tied. A towel wrapped around my mouth so tight that it hurt my jaw. I started kicking immediately, or at least trying to. There wasn't enough room. My shoulder hit one side of the trunk, my knees hit the other. Then the trunk opened. Cold air rushed in, and he was there, standing above me. Same hair, same eyes. Only now I could see his whole face. And he didn't look angry. That was the worst part. He looked so calm. Like this was just the next step in something he'd been planning and had already done before. I tried to scream to the towel, but nothing really came out. He smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It wasn't crazy. He was just satisfied. Like watching me realize where I was gave him exactly what he wanted. Then he reached up and started lowering the trunk. Before it closed, he leaned down and whispered, "Should have checked the trunk." The latch slammed, everything went dark. I heard him walk around the car. The driver's door opened, the seat creaked, the engine started. Hearing my own engine start from someone's hand but my own, it did something to me. Because until then, some part of my brain was still waiting for this all to make sense. Maybe waiting for me to wake up or some kind of rational explanation, but there was no rational explanation. The car shifted into gear and I totally understood. I was being taken somewhere. I started kicking as hard as I could, not just panic kicking, deliberate, rhythmic, trying to make the whole car shake in one direction. I screamed through the towel until my throat burned. The car moved 1 foot, 2 feet. Then red and blue lights flashed through the tiny gaps around the trunk. Thank goodness. At first, I thought I imagined it, like it was just too perfect. Then I heard a siren chirp. The car stopped. The driver's door opened. A voice shouted, then another. I kicked harder. I screamed harder. Someone yelled, "Open the trunk!" There was movement inside. Hands on the latch. Then light poured in. A police officer looked down at me, thank goodness. For a second, nobody said anything. Then everything happened all at once. They pulled me out, cut the ties, removed that godforsaken towel. I remember sitting on the curb, shaking so hard I could barely answer any of their questions. The man was already in cuffs. He didn't yell. He didn't struggle. He didn't even say anything. He just kept looking at me as they took him away, with that same smile. After my statement, they let me call someone to come get me. But before I left, I checked my car. Every seat, every floorboard, under the seats, behind the seats, the trunk, the spare tire well. I checked it all. Then I checked it again, and again, and again. I don't even DoorDash at night anymore. Honestly, I barely like parking lots now. But if there's one thing I learned, it's this. That tiny mistake you think won't matter. The unlocked door, the cracked window, the quick pickup, I'll only be gone for 30 seconds. Someone else might be waiting for that exact moment. So if you ever come back to your car and something feels off, don't talk yourself out of it. Don't assume it was the wind. Don't assume you're being paranoid. Check the car, then check it again. Because the worst thing hiding in the dark might not be outside waiting to get in. It might already be inside waiting for you to drive away. The order paid $67.50 for 6.2 miles. You know, looking back on it, I did have a weird feeling about it, but that tip had to have been insane. I wish I hadn't ignored that initial gut feeling I had. I really do wish I declined this too good to be true order, as I'm pretty sure it almost cost me my life. It was a catering order from Panera, 2 big bags, 1 box of drinks, a customer note that didn't even load until after I picked everything up. In all caps, they said, "Hand it to me. Do not leave outside. Tip depends on handoff." I remember sitting in the parking lot looking at that note like, what are they talking about? It was more annoying than crazy, but I remembered that, of course, people got weird about catering orders, especially the big ones. Because I delivered to offices, churches, birthday parties, business lunches, open houses, honestly, even funeral receptions, literally anything you can think of. Half the time, somebody wanted the food either set up inside, and the other half, they then acted like you were stealing from them if one sandwich tray went missing. So when I saw the payout, I told myself the same thing every delivery driver tells themselves when something feels even a little off. Only 6 miles. Get it done, take the money, move on. The Panera employee looked relieved when I gave her the name. "You're the catering order?" she asked. I said, "Yeah." She pointed to 2 giant insulated bags on the counter and a cardboard drink carrier with enough iced teas and lemonades to ruin my entire front seat if I hit one pothole. "Good luck," she said with a smile. I laughed because I thought she meant the wait. Then she added, "They called 3 times already." That made me pause. For what? She shrugged, just asking if the driver had picked it up yet. I checked the app. The customer name was just D. Miller. The address was outside town, down a road I recognized only because I'd previously declined orders there before. Big houses, no streetlights, really long driveways with gates. Awful self-service. The kind of area where every mile feels like 3. But hey, $67.50 for 6.2 miles is $67.50 for 6.2 miles. I was going to take this order. I loaded everything into my car and started driving. After about 2 minutes from when I pulled out, the customer messaged me saying, "Please hurry, people are waiting." So I typed back quickly, "On my way, ETA 12 minutes. Then they responded immediately, "Come to front door, bring all bags inside." I didn't like how they were commanding me, but the money was good enough, so I just shrugged it off and kept going. Besides, I told myself again that these customers were kind of like that. Bossy, entitled, but usually harmless at the end of the day. The drive got darker the farther I went. The houses spread out, then the houses disappeared completely for a stretch, replaced by trees and long black gaps between mailboxes. My GPS told me to turn into Briar Hollow Road, and the pavement changed almost immediately. Narrower, rougher, no more painted lines. The app showed me that I was still 3 minutes away. Then another message came through. "Tip will be removed if left outside." I remember just laughing at that. Honestly, not because it was funny, but it was so direct it almost felt fake. So I said out loud to myself, "Okay, D. Miller, you got it, buddy." The house sat at the end of the road, large, old, and dark except for one light over the porch and another light deeper inside, somewhere past the front hallway. There was not a single car in the driveway. That was the second bad feeling. A catering order literally big enough for a room full of people and not a single car outside. I parked facing the road because I always do that at night. Makes me feel safer. I grabbed the first bag, then the second, then balanced the drink box somehow against my side with my elbow. The front door was already open, not cracked, wide open. Although the storm door was shut, the wooden door behind it was wide open, showing a narrow hallway and a staircase disappearing upward into straight darkness. I stood at the bottom of the porch steps and called out, "DoorDash." No answer. I checked the app again, didn't have signal, then a bar, then nothing. I was about to set everything down, take a picture anyway, and leave when a voice almost at the same time called from inside. "Kitchen." It was a man's voice, flat, not loud, just close enough to startle me and make me freeze. I said, "I can leave it right here." No answer. I waited for what felt like forever. In reality, it was probably like 5 or 10 seconds. Then the voice said, "Kitchen." I looked back at my car. It was maybe 30 feet away, engine off, keys in my pocket, driver door unlocked. I told myself I was fine. If anything happened, I could get out. So I walked up the porch steps, opened the storm door at my shoulder, and placed the drink box just inside that threshold. Then I stopped. See, there's a line when you do delivery. Most people don't think about it because they're not the ones crossing it every night. They're just getting the food. The porch, that's fine. The garage, questionable, but fine. But you see, inside the actual house is way different. Inside the house means the customer controls the room, the exits, the distance, the lighting, and the narrative if something goes wrong. I said, I'm not allowed to come inside. Now, that wasn't exactly true, but the way I made it sound official. But then the voice said from the hallway, then you don't want the tip? My stomach tightened. I didn't even answer. The man said, it's a catering handoff. I report it incomplete. You lose the tip and rating. You see, before this moment, I just thought I was dealing with a rude customer. But after this moment, everything changed. I knew that he knew about drivers. He knew what mattered. The tip, the rating, the fear of getting reported. He poked and prodded at these little pressure points that kept me polite and kept me around, kept me pushing the threshold, even when every inch of my body was telling me to leave. But I wanted that money. He was right. I wanted the tip. I wanted the good rating. And I definitely didn't want to get reported. So I picked up the drink box again. I couldn't really say why in the moment, but looking back on it, I know why. I didn't want to go all the way in, but I took another step over my threshold, then another. The hallway smelled like old carpet and something sweet, like fruit that had been left too long in a trash can. The kitchen light was on at the far end, and I could see the edge of a table. This was what was weird. There was no one there. There was no party, there was no office meeting. I didn't hear anything. It was just a light. Scared as hell, I called out, Where do you want it? The voice answered from somewhere to my left, and my head snapped when I heard, dining room. See, I stopped. Now it's the dining room. Before it was the kitchen. The dining room door was even darker than the staircase. I couldn't see inside it. I said, you can come get it from here. Silence. Then a soft sound like someone shifting their weight that made a floorboard creak. That made me back up one step. Then for some reason the customer messaged me through the app. That should not have happened, not only because I had no signal, but because they were presumably in the house with me. You're almost done, it said. I looked at the screen. Then I looked at the dark dining room. The voice said, don't you want that tip? I dropped the drink box. It hit the floor sideways, cups cracking open, tea and lemonade spreading across the old wood. The voice changed immediately. Not louder, but angrier. Pick it up. I dropped the first catering bag too, then the second, and I was gone. I ran. Something moved in the dining room. The floorboard squeaked even quicker. Quicker. He was moving fast. I hit the storm door with both hands, slammed through it, and nearly fell down the porch steps. Behind me, I heard a chair scrape across the floor. Then footsteps. Again, not walking, sprinting. I got to my car with one hand already digging for the keys that were stuck in my pocket. The catering bag strap had caught around my wrist, and for one stupid second, I couldn't get free of it. I yanked so hard I almost dislocated my shoulder. The bag tore open behind me, sandwich tray sliding across the porch. I heard the storm door slam. I looked back. A hooded figure stood in the doorway. A man in a dark hoodie with his face covered by something pale and light. He didn't chase me into the yard. He just watched me fight with my keys. That was worse, because it meant he still thought I might make a mistake. He was waiting for something. I got the door open and threw myself inside my car. As I started it, he appeared next to me at my window. He tapped on the glass with one finger. Once, twice, then 3 times. Then he leaned down until his face completely filled the window, almost pressing it against the window. His voice muffled through the glass. "You forgot the handoff. No handoff, no tip." I reversed so fast I almost hit the ditch. The tires spun in the gravel before catching. As I backed into the road, I saw movement behind him. Another person stepped out of the house, smaller, also hooded. They bent down, picked up one of the catering bags, and dragged it back inside. Then they came back for the second one, and I swear to God, they still took the food and started eating. That almost made it worse, because the order had 2 purposes: potentially my life or whoever was going to bring the food, and dinner. I mean, psycho still gotta eat, right? I drove until there were streetlights again and pulled into a gas station and called 911. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get the words out. The dispatcher asked if I had an address. I opened the app and the order was gone. Not completed, not canceled, just gone. Like I'd never accepted it. My earnings screen had updated too, but the 6750 was not there. Now there was delivery. The only thing left was a note on my account that said, "Customer reported, order not handed directly to recipient." I laughed when I saw it. A horrible little laugh. The kind that comes out when your body is still deciding whether to cry. The police went to the address. The house was empty by the time they got there. No cars, no people, no bags, no drink spills, no food across the floor, and the front door was locked. The owner, according to the county records, lived 2 states away and said the property had been vacant for months. I stopped doing deliveries, especially night deliveries after that, for a while. But the thing that stays with me is not the house, not the open door, not the darkness, not even the man tapping on my window. It's how close I got. Not because I was brave, well, because I was a little stupid, but mainly because the number on the screen was just high enough for me to make a wrong decision feel reasonable. That's what scares me now. See, someone understood the app. Someone understood the drivers, our motivations, how we think. Someone understood that if the tip was big enough, the warning signs would start to look just like obstacles instead of actual warnings. And sometimes all it takes to get someone through the door is 6 miles and $67.50. The woman behind the window is telling me to leave. At the same time, the customer messaging me through DoorDash said, "Side door, come closer." I was halfway down a narrow driveway with the food in my hand and my car parked behind me near the road. The woman shook her head harder. Then she pointed past me. The phone vibrated again. "I can see you. Black jacket, blue hat." I'd never mentioned what I was wearing. A porch camera above the side entrance slowly turned in my direction. Then the side door opened about 6 inches. Something moved in the darkness behind it. And before I could decide whether the woman inside was warning me or setting me up, gravel shifted somewhere between me and my car. 20 minutes earlier, it looked like the easiest order I'd received all night. It was a little after 11 and I was preparing to call it. The order was from a sandwich place less than 2 miles away. 1 bag, decent tip, delivery address just outside the busier part of town. The only unusual part was the note. "Do not use the front door. Leave at side entrance. Do not ring bell." That didn't seem alarming by itself. People gave strange instructions all the time. Sleeping babies, loud dogs, roommates, parents who didn't know their kid had ordered food at midnight. So I picked up the bag and started driving. A few minutes later, another message appeared. come all the way down the driveway. Side doors around back. That was slightly different from the original instructions, but not enough to cancel. I replied that I had the food and would leave it at the requested entrance. The customer immediately answered, "Don't leave until I get it." That part bothered me. DoorDash orders were supposed to be simple. Drop it off, take the picture, and leave. Waiting behind someone's house at 11 at night was not part of the deal. But I assumed it was probably a little kid ordering secretly. Maybe they needed to grab the bag before a parent found it. The GPS brought me to a road lined with widely spaced houses and patches of woods between them. The delivery property sat farther back than the others. A narrow gravel driveway ran along the right side of the house. Trees and an overgrown hedge blocked most of the view from the road. I could see lights in an upstairs room and another light near the back of the first floor. The front porch was completely dark. There was no good place to turn around, so I left my car near the entrance of the driveway, pointed toward the road. I took the bag and walked in. About halfway to the house, the customer messaged me again. "Not there. Keep coming." I hadn't stopped yet. That meant whoever was messaging me could see my location more precisely than the app should have shown it. I looked toward the upstairs windows. One curtain moved. For a second, I saw the outline of someone standing behind it. Then it closed. I kept walking, but more slowly. The side entrance was farther back than I expected. It sat beneath a small overhang between the house and the detached garage. A security camera was mounted above it. As I approached, its motor made a faint clicking sound, and the lens rotated toward me. My phone vibrated. "Put it directly against the door." I was beginning to think the customer was watching through the camera. That would explain how they knew where I was. So I placed the bag near the side entrance and stepped back to take the delivery photo. Before I could, the curtains in the downstairs window moved. A woman stood behind the glass. She looked to be in her 40s, wore a sweatshirt, and one hand was pressed flat against the window. I lifted the food slightly, trying to show her why I was there. Her expression changed immediately. She shook her head, not confused, but afraid. She pointed toward the driveway and mouthed something I couldn't hear. My phone vibrated again. "Knock." I looked from the message to the woman. She shook her head faster. Then she held up both hands and mouthed the words more clearly. "I didn't order anything." The new message told me to use the side door. The woman told me to leave. Then the customer described my jacket and hat. When she pointed behind me, I turned just enough to look without completely taking my eyes off the house. At first, I saw only the driveway. Then a faint rectangle of light appeared beyond the hedge near the road. A phone screen. It glowed inside a dark vehicle parked partly on the grass across from the property. The screen went black the moment I noticed it. The customer wasn't watching through the porch camera. They were watching me from outside the house. The side door opened slightly. The woman stepped away from the window. I heard a man's voice from inside. "Who's out there?" She shouted back, "Don't open anything." The message on my phone changed. "Tell her the food is here." That's when everything hit me. This wasn't a setup or the wrong house. It was bait. I was the bait in some psycho scheme. That's when I heard repeated taps on the window in front of me. The woman was really trying to get my attention this time. She was banging hard on the window, telling me to look behind me. She was pointing in the same direction where that car was. A figure started approaching me through the darkness. He had one hand raised in the air. It had a gun. As the dark figure approached closer with the gun in hand, I raised both of mine. My right hand still had my phone in it. His black cap, bandana, and sunglasses concealed any part of his face that would be recognizable or identifiable. All you had to do was follow the instructions. They were clear, weren't they? Side door, all the way in the back. Wait till I get it, and you'd be off on your next delivery. But look at you. You just couldn't follow directions, could you? I'm not here for you, but now I might have to be. As he was saying this all to me, I was pleading for my life. Call it distraction, call it survival, whatever you want. But in the time that I was pleading for my life, I was pressing the side button on my iPhone 3 times to signal an emergency SOS. 911 was being called. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. I just had to buy us time. I heard the subtle, "Hello? Hello? 911, what's your emergency? Look, man, please, don't shoot. I'm just a DoorDash driver, okay? I can't even see what you look like. I could walk away and you would never see me again, please." That's when the banging got even louder. She was saying something. A name. Sean. His name was Sean. It's too late for that. It's way too late for that. You should have followed the instructions. That phone in your hand, drop it. Now. In that moment, I knew that if I dropped that phone too early, I was good as dead. But I had no way to know if the dispatcher even knew what was happening, if they were sending units or anything. But he started pressing. He shook the gun violently, yelling at me. "I said, drop that phone now!" Without a second thought, I released my fingers from the phone. It fell out of my hand, and as soon as it made contact with the pavement of the driveway, it shattered. The screen was damaged beyond repair. Whatever phone call, whatever contact I had with 911 was gone. Despite his entire face being covered by a black bandana, I could still see the corners of the fabric wrinkle and spread across as I dropped my phone. He was smiling. He then started to inch closer to me. Slowly, but confidently. With his left index finger, he made circles in the air, so I did about face, and as my back faced him, I felt the cold, empty chamber of the gun press against my left shoulder. He was pressing so hard that my clothing and skin started to fold in on itself inside the chamber, and with a not-so-gentle nudge, he signaled for me to go toward that door. By this time, there was no one at the door, no one at the window. The house was pitch black, and he began to knock. "Now you both know I'm not here for him. Don't let him get caught in your crossfire. Open the door." I could hear two voices, faint voices, whispering, arguing, contemplating. They were deciding. My life hung in the balance. That's when I felt the gun pressed to the back of my head. There was a small clicking sound that seemed to silence everything. No more whispering, no more arguing, no more contemplating. The door slowly creaked open. He kept the gun to the back of my head as we slowly crept in. I could hear something scraping up against the wall, and then a light flickered. The woman at the window and the man at the door were standing in the middle of the room with their hands up. Now all three of us had our hands raised. The gun remained pointed in our direction, shifting from one person to the next whenever any of us moved. Then he reached behind himself and flipped on the hallway light. He did it without looking. That bothered me almost as much as the gun. This was not a stranger guessing his way through an unfamiliar house. He knew where the switch was. He knew which door they used. He knew where she would be standing when it opened. "What do you want?" The man did not take his eyes off the woman. "She's coming with me." He said it like the decision had already been made. The food was still outside. The front door remained open behind us. Somewhere near the entrance, pieces of my phone lay scattered on the floor. Even though it was outside, I still remember where it was, so I looked toward it. He noticed. "I stepped on whatever was left of it when I walked in. Nobody knows you're here." I wanted to believe he was wrong, but I had no idea whether the emergency signal had gone through. I just pressed the button combination while he was walking toward me, felt one vibration through my pocket, heard the dispatch, barely, and then nothing. No confirmation, no voice, no sirens, nothing. "Where are you taking her?" The gunman told him to shut up. "Where are you taking my sister?" At the time, I thought he was provoking him. Looking back, I think he was doing the only useful thing any of us could do. Keep him in the room, making him talk. The gunman started explaining himself. She'd ignored him. She turned everyone against him. Her brother had interfered. The delivery was the only way to get the door to open without making her suspicious. That was the final piece that fell into place. I knew I wasn't the target. I'd just been the knock on the door. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the hallway. Her brother moved with them. The gun rose. "Back up." Then headlights crossed the front window. For 1 second, nobody moved. The light disappeared. Then a narrow white beam swept across the ceiling. A voice outside called the address. The man sharply looked in the direction of my broken pieces of my phone. Then his expression changed. He'd known where the light switch was. He'd known which entrance she used. He'd even know how to make her open the door. But he didn't know what my phone had already done before he continued to shatter it. He tightened his grip on her and moved toward the back exit. Her brother stepped between them, not swinging, not trying to take the gun. He simply made it impossible for the man to drag her through the doorway without moving him first. The gunman turned toward him. I grabbed the woman around the waist and pulled her down with me. The front of the house exploded with voices. "Police! Drop the weapon!" The gunman released her and ran. The back door slammed hard enough to shake the wall. We all stayed on the floor. I heard boots move through the house. More shouting came from the yard. Then something heavy struck the ground outside. An officer entered through the front door and told us not to move until he could see our hands. A few minutes later, he told us the man was in custody. The emergency signal had gone through. Even after the screen shattered, the call had remained connected long enough for the dispatcher to hear voices, identify the address, and send officers toward the house. The woman later told police that her former boyfriend had been watching her property for weeks. He had been inside the house before. That's why he knew the light switch. That's why he knew the side entrance. And that was why she had been shaking her head when she first saw me approaching the door. The delivery account did not belong to anyone in the house. It had only been used to bring a stranger to the property, someone wearing the right uniform, holding the right bag, and giving her one believable reason to unlock the door. I continued delivering after that, but I stopped treating customer instructions like proof that customer was actually waiting inside. Because the address that night was correct. The order was real. The person sending me closer simply had never been behind the door. He had been behind me.